had gone to Washington and become chairman of the National Democratic Party. He bought some of the boats at $6 a piece. Well, man, that's a bargain for any boat. It's just a paperback boat, but it's $6. And he gave some of those to members of the state legislature that he knew. And let him teach the president of the University of Boston, not Boston College, but Boston University, the president of Boston University, bought a number of books that he gave to friends of his, I don't know, the faculty and the board and the different friends he had. Several people did that. And they criticized that. I understand that. They didn't. They thought it was some kind of a bribe to me or something. But whatever, it was legal under the rules of the House. The writing of books was encouraged, not only acknowledged and permitted, but encouraged. And the idea of this at the insistence of a Republican minority leader.
So your opposition encouraged that.
Yeah, he insisted on that. He was from Arizona. I forget his name too, I'll tell you that in a minute.
Now that reminds me, Barry said, he quoted Gingrich as saying that if Jim Wright survives this attack, he's going to go down as one of the best speakers, in history.
Yeah.
It sounds like Barry said that he was a strategist and that he had nothing personal against you. But you're the person, That's when people say there's nothing personal about it. I just want to deprive you of your your work and your smear you and. So even your opponents seem to fall in favor of some of the work that you're doing.
I got off the subject, really, I'm sorry. I got carried away talking about that little book, Reflection of a Public Man. I thought the things that were in the book were really important and good and worthwhile. That's what we're publishing. Instead of going to a New York publisher and getting royalties from the sale of books nationally, like in some of the other books, I went to a local publisher in Fort Worth, and there were two of them who bid for it. And the one tells me that he made money on the book, even though he gave me a very liberal percent of a very small price of each book. But he's still in town. You can talk to him if you want to talk to him. But that was, I don't know, I'm not going to make a comment about Gingrich on this. Seriously. But I have some other books you may have. Are you aware of a book called Worth It All?
What is it?
Worth It All. Worth It All.
Oh, what's?
Worth It All.
What's it? Worth It All. Worth It All. Yes.
Worth It All.
Yeah, sorry to bring up Gingrich. I don't really revel in any kind of controversy, but I do like to know how it is that when I'm studying somebody, I like to see how they've dealt with things and figure out how I can deal with my own life. And And I see that you dealt with that in a way that I thought was constructive. Even Barry in that interview, he says, well, he's not gone to Fort Worth to be defeated. He's not. Fortunately, he's gone on and he says that he's come here to live, not to die. Come to Fort Worth to live. That reminds me of Reflections of a Public Man. You said that war was fought not you don't die for your country, you try to live for your country.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done since resigning.
I've enjoyed it. This is, well, in fact, one of the people who I'll give you a copy of this speech. I have a copy of this speech. Pete Guerin, who succeeded me in Congress and served there for, I think, 6 years, maybe less, and then became Secretary of the Army. Pete wrote a speech about me, and then he made at the Exchange Club recently, and if you get your copy of that, he seems to be moved by the fact that I'm going to come back to Fort Worth instead of staying in Washington and getting involved in lobbying. I wasn't interested in lobbying. I didn't want to be able to.
Yeah, I get the impression that once you were, your position was resigned there, that you felt like this is a place that I've completed my work with, and I don't need to be here anymore. Yeah. But when you and your congressman, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you said that you were there maybe up to 9 months out of the year.
9 months out of the year is right, and bearing in mind that that was written shortly after I had come to Congress. I'd been there for 10 years or less, you see. And that's what happened, yeah. In the early days, those days, Congress would be in session, and there wouldn't be any weekends at home. The Congress would be in session, steady session, from January when it went in until perhaps September, and then it would adjourn and adjourn for the year. You go home for the last 3 months or 4 months of your year. But there was no paid trip home.
You have to go a Greyhound bus?
Yeah, yeah, pay as yourself, or drive, or whatever, but you wouldn't get home and back on the weekend very well. So members stayed there pretty much. We put our kids in school in Texas in the fall, and at midterm we would transfer
January
up to Washington now, 7 miles. The courses didn't always mesh. It wasn't a really good way to educate your kids.
Well, those are things that interest me that aren't in the books. That just how does life manage when you do all these things? First off, we rented. I couldn't believe that anything was worth the money they charged in Washington to buy a house. Oh yeah, we looked around once, my dad, and it was. So I remember this was in the early '90s. It's $200,000 for a pretty small-looking place, and later on he went ahead and bought something here. It seems like a mansion.
We had a home in Weatherford, and I was first selected, and kept that as our residence. He lives here and works in Washington, but lives here.
And you had to drop those papers to vote in the last year.
But here was there were advantages and disadvantages. Members became better acquainted with one another when they lived there the year round and didn't have any paid trip home except at Easter time. One time at Easter and back, just for the weekend, or maybe a week, whatever. But there wasn't any such thing as going home for the weekend, going home and coming back for the so-called Tuesday, Thursday, the Tuesday, Thursday Club. It's a name that was invented by critics, and well so, because once the annual session continued around the clock, around the calendar, you know, we didn't adjourn the Congress until sometime in December. And you had to go home if you were going to get home and see your constituents and report to them and all. I wrote a weekly newsletter when I was first in Congress, and did a weekly television interview, and sent them home, and did not try to go home. As my kids grew up a little bit, and the youngest one was able to swim and good enough at swimming, I put her in the swimming pool. That's always been my idea of a really wonderful thing. And we would invite other kids, Republicans' children, and other members' children to come and swim in our swimming pool with us, have a little swimming party. That kind of thing went on all the time. Members had parties and went to see one another, visited in one another's homes, and did things like that. You got a whole lot better acquainted with one another. Then later on, when they did begin to pay for your trip back home, as often as you went. One full year, my wife was now deceased, my first wife, didn't like the idea of moving the kids back and forth. And so she said, well, they had redistricted and put Polk County out of our district. So we had to sell our home over there and buy one in Fort Worth. And she wanted to stay there the whole year. But I kept myself broke trying to get home on weekends if I ever. And my own pocket. You know, I didn't have all that money. But then after that, we decided we just put her in school in Washington or in Virginia, in nearby northern Virginia, year round. And that's what happened for most of my tenure there.
Did they like school better in one place or the other? Or did they like both in different ways?
I think kids like school wherever they got friends. Where they got friends.
And where they got friends?
Yeah. And I think that's my view of it. I believe that's the way they would.
My niece went up to near there in Maryland, and she liked it just fine, and she came down here, and she was in high school at the time. So I avoided that. I dropped out of school when I was in high school, and then later I got into college, another route, and I instead of switching over there, we just pulled me out of school.
Yeah. My son, the eldest of my children, was, I think he was in the 5th grade when we went to college, and he came back to Texas and lived with my sister in his senior year in high school, in the old family home, my parents' home. And he was the only one who did that. The rest of them actually lived there, I think, fine. And he did most of his schooling, about half and half.
I had a question about. Well, by the way, whenever you need to move on, that's fine. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk with you.
Come all the way up here to talk and get information. Go ahead.
Well, I noticed that you said one of your regrets during the lecture, the first lecture. I have to kind of keep an eye on this. I think it eats up a lot of space on there, but you said one of your regrets that you couldn't accomplish during being a speaker was that you wanted education, avenues to higher learning to be more accessible. And I was wondering what you think of this higher learning now that the advent of the internet has occurred in the 90s, and online learning is starting to rise up a little. That seems to make learning more accessible to everybody, but
it is more accessible.
is that in line with some of the vision that you had, or do you think
not
that's...
really, no. I have to confess that it wasn't one of my initiatives. It was someone else's. I don't get any credit for that at all. But I do believe that learning ought to be more accessible and less expensive.
It's ballooned, the price, since I've been got my bachelor's, and the online learning tuition is a lot lower because of less overhead.
Oh yeah.
But I think that there's some spotty work that's being done, and in some respects, I hope that it gets more formalized.
James, I think there may be an advantage to having some personal contact with professors and the ability to ask questions that you can't get online. But I work from the advent of online teaching. It opens it up, as you say, to people who otherwise, many of them wouldn't have made it at all.
Well, like I said, when I'm learning about someone like you, I'm trying to strengthen my own weaknesses, to look at what it is that you've done successfully, or that you've been able to accomplish, and not just in work but in character, and then also some of the weaknesses of you or anyone else, and then figure out how that's compatible with me. And I think that online, I would just see people on the forums, all they're required to do is post a couple things, and you couldn't even hardly tell these are people or computers or what.
Yeah, you lose the personal touch, no question about it, but if it permits any number of students otherwise unable to get an education to gain it, I think it's wonderful. I do believe, though, that you need a certain amount of give and take. You got to be able to ask questions as you're doing to me right now. And if not, you're going to have a lot of questions in your mind that aren't answered.
Well, here's a kind of a controversial question. What about illegal immigrants enrolled in universities? Some people support the DREAM Act to let somebody, if they've gone through college and they get a degree and they're illegal all that time, to let them kind of be integrated. what do you think about education as it is in line with that?
I think that people who are brought here by their parents, their children, don't
They
have
should.
any say about it. We can't hold them guilty for being illegal, you know. But here's what you can do. You can set out criteria that they have to fulfill in order to qualify for citizenship, and then make them full-fledged citizens.
And you think that should be set out through the education program or outside of it?
Well,
Yeah, it discourages me because I was a substitute. I've been a substitute for years before going to college level, and some schools would have a sign on the door saying you can't enroll here if you don't have citizenship. You know, if you don't have an ID. I don't even think that's the law. From what I understand, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of illegals being able to go to school.
Yeah.
In '79 or something.
Yeah. So I would agree with that. I would. Maybe some states have laws that say the state universities cannot admit people who are not citizens, or children of citizens. I think that's foolish because there are a lot of people who are here legally who are not citizens. I mean, people who are invited. I don't know. I would lean in the direction of making it easier for people to get education, whoever they are.
And those people can contribute to the economy.
Yeah.
The more they learn, the more, like Horace Mann says, the more they learn, they'll get involved.
Precisely. I think so, absolutely.
There's some things that I have to say here. Well, one thing about Worth It All. At the beginning, there's a Fort Worth Star-Telegram interview that you gave early this year. I think May of this year. Says Jim Wright says he probably shouldn't have retired, and that you said you should have stuck it out. And
I don't remember saying that. No, I don't remember saying that. I think that you read an article.
I think it said that that you believe that if you had just stayed there, it may have been acrimonious, but at least
No, that I know what you said. I said I think that I may have miscalculated. Now, here's where I miscalculated, and I did so. Indeed, when I retired from college, gave up speaking, I did so as a propitiation for the ill will that existed between the parties and the Congress. And I did so saying, I said, let me make a bargain with you. Let me give you back this job you gave to me as a propitiation.
propitiation.
For this season of ill will, and let there be an end to it.
And it didn't end.
Yeah.
And you think that maybe that was a miscalculation, that
On my part.
your goal was
Yeah.
to
I
help
saw-
harmony be restored.
I saw it, yeah, exactly. I saw it, and perhaps irrationally, I thought that my giving back the job of the speakership, which is your life's goal, for God's sake, if you're going to conduct, would be with so shock and shame the membership that they would buy into that and would say, yes, that's right. There's been too much of this ill will.
But instead they see it more like Nixon resigning, perhaps.
there was my, yeah, and I miscalculated grossly.
Well, so that explains. I was from Worth et al. In the preface,
Yeah.
you say to hold on to that post would have only prolonged the acrimony
Yeah,
and divisiveness that plagued the government.
yeah,
I'd done all that I could, and you know, I wanted to be sure that was consistent with what you're saying recently.
yeah.
So really, it is.
No, I'm not saying I should have stayed there. I had a chance to go back. They had a meeting here locally that was attended by my friend, whom you mentioned earlier, Bob Bowden, and others wanting me to run for my vacated position after I had vacated it. To run, and it was, nobody filed for it in a long time. And they ran a poll in the Fort Store Telegram. How many of them said they would support me if I ran to replace myself? It was a very big,
I think you said 76%.
yeah, 70-some-odd%, and a majority, a solid majority of Republicans said they would vote for me.
That reminds me of LBJ talking and saying that you were running against an opponent named Unopposed. They said
Right.
you're the biggest opposition you had. Something like you had 92% in favor of you at the
Yeah.
time. So 8% opposition, I guess.
But that I had, no, I'd made a deal. I was going to stick with it, and I was disappointed that Congress didn't buy into it and live up to the end that I thought I had offered. That's all right. I'm not disappointed about not being in charge. It's pretty safe. I get around going back again. Maybe I could go back to the speakership again. I don't think so. I don't doubt it.
Well, I saw somebody talk to you, I think when you published The Flying Circus, about 2003. There's a
Yeah.
little book party, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody, government official, says, "We need you back." And you said, "Been there, done that."
Yeah.
And